Hi. If a permanent resident of Canada or a Canadian citizen plans to sponsor his family member, then the sponsor should be aware of the obligations involved in this process. One such key obligation is the sponsorship undertaking and understanding what that means. By signing the sponsorship undertaking, the sponsor is making a commitment to the federal government that he will be responsible for all the basic needs of the person being sponsored. Now, the basic needs include things like food, clothing, shelter, fuel, utilities, household supplies, and services like dental care or eye care that are not usually part of the public healthcare system. Now, the sponsorship agreement is usually a part of this form called as IMM 1344. IMM 1344 is a form which is part of your sponsorship application package. Now, we also have to understand the length of undertaking in each case. The length of undertaking is the period where the federal government will hold you financially responsible for the person whom you sponsored. Now, the length of undertaking changes as per the relationship type and the age of the person being sponsored. So, for example, if you're sponsoring a spouse, a common law partner, or a conjugal partner, then the length of undertaking is 3 years. If you're sponsoring your parents or grandparents, then the length of undertaking is 20 years. If it is any other relative, then it's 10 years. And when it comes to a dependent child who is less than 22 years old, the length of undertaking is either 10 years or the period until the day on which the child turns 25 years old. So whichever comes first. Now, if a dependent child is more than 22 years old and is having an ongoing mental or physical condition due to which he is financially dependent on his parents, then in that case, the sponsorship undertaking, like the length of the undertaking, is 3 years. Now, let us try to understand in what situations would the sponsor be considered to be in default of the agreement, or in what conditions the federal government would come to you and say that, hey, you as a sponsor have breached this agreement. Let us consider an example of a couple named Jack and Jill. Jack is a Canadian citizen and Jill is his wife. So Jack is sponsoring his wife to become a permanent resident of Canada. As soon as Jill becomes a permanent resident of Canada, the undertaking which he had signed gets activated. Now, as we have seen for spouses, it's 3 years. So this means that Jack is responsible for Jill, financially responsible for Jill, over the period of next 3 years. Now, for some reason, the relationship does not work out and Jack and Jill decide to get separated from each other. And Jack stops paying for Jill's expenses. Now, Jill reaches out to the government and seeks for social assistance or welfare assistance. Upon approval, Jill does receive some money from the government. Now, in that case, the government will hold Jack responsible and tell him that, hey, you are in breach of the sponsorship undertaking agreement and you are supposed to repay this entire money to the government. That is how the sponsorship undertaking works. Now, I would quickly like to mention a couple of points. If the person who was sponsored, let's say in this example, if Jill was having some kind of disability and she tries to access the disability assistance, like some money under the disability assistance program, then that is fine. Then in that case, the government won't hold you responsible. Also, if you have children and if you try to access the child tax benefit program, then that is okay as well. So excluding these benefits, the government is going to hold you responsible if the sponsored person seeks any kind of social assistance or welfare assistance from the government. So, to summarize, I would say that after sponsoring your family member, your spouse or your relative might forget you, but the government will not forget you. Just kidding, guys. Thank you for watching.